The Pittsburgh Steelers lose to the Chicago Bears in the Windy City here in Week 12. Close one, disappointing one, frustrating one. Final score 31-28. This game really felt like it was there for the taking for the Pittsburgh Steelers. Unfortunately, self-inflicted wounds, and we'll talk about those on today's show, really hurt you in this game. And my major takeaway coming out of this one, guys, is inconsistency is a major vice of this year's Pittsburgh Steelers team, and unless they find that inconsistency down the stretch here, on a really important stretch coming up here over these next 6 games, the chances of this team, doing what other teams in the past haven't done and win a playoff game, the chances of that are going to be pretty darn low. Welcome into the show, guys. I'm your host, Jack Sperry. Today we'll be talking about my takeaways, my instant reaction after this week's loss. Season's not over, guys. There's still a lot of ways to go here. There's still some great opportunities for the Steelers to get some big-time wins against some playoff-caliber opponents. So make sure you guys click that subscribe button if you haven't already, because we're going to be here for our live watch parties for every single Steelers game this year, as well as our extensive coverage on the Pittsburgh Steelers all throughout the 2025 campaign. All right, so unfortunate, 31-28, lots of missed opportunities in this game for the Steelers, and it just felt like, with the Steelers' run game playing as well as it was today, Jaylen Warren was once again pretty darn good in this game. Kenneth Gainwell had 92 yards on the ground, 186 total on the ground for the team. With the way they were moving the ball on the ground, it's really disappointing that they couldn't get more out of the passing game. Now, the stat line looks like, classic backup caliber quarterback stat line for Mason Rudolph, 24 of 31, but most of those came on, underneath passes. I think he only had 1 or 2 downfield passes in this entire game. Maybe the best throw he had was the touchdown pass to Pat Freiermuth to keep him in it, but less than 200 yards passing today, 2 turnovers, had a fumble, a crucial one in Bears territory in the second half. And then, I thought the Bears, they had a pretty decent offensive game plan to attack what the Steelers like to do. They went under center with a lot of in-breaking routes over the middle on play action, and Caleb hit a lot of those. Lots of explosive plays in the passing game, and they were really efficient when they had opportunities to score, and they called up some really nice plays to get some guys wide open, and they executed that at a high level. They end up getting 31 points, and Steelers had a chance. Defense got 2 stops at the end, giving the Steelers 2 chances to score, and Mason Rudolph and this offense wasn't able to get the job done. Talking about some injuries here, DK Metcalf was banged up multiple times in this game, but he was able to finish. Joey Porter Jr. left the game with a hip injury, so that sucks because he's this team's bona fide number 1 corner. So hopefully he's going to be able to get back on the field. His injury isn't anything, too serious. And Broderick Jones left the game with a head injury, according to the team. I'm guessing he got hit in the head, and he had to enter concussion protocol. So hopefully he's going to be able to get out of that before next week's game against the Bills. Calvin Anderson had to finish the game for him. And then James Pierre left the game late with an ankle injury. He got stepped on by DJ Moore, I believed it was, late in the game, and he wasn't able to continue. Made the Steelers give up their final timeout, and that ended up proving pretty costly there. So hopefully Pierre is going to be okay. We'll have more injury updates probably later in our second post-game show that comes out around halftime of Sunday Night Football later this evening. But now on to my takeaways, man. First one, defense got out-coached today, plain and simply. Ben Johnson, obviously one of the better play callers in the game, but, there's multiple times today where they schemed guys wide open for Caleb Williams. And, Terrell Austin and Mike Tomlin ran a lot of the same stuff that they like to run, single high coverage, leaving the middle of the field pretty wide open in man-free coverage. And, Caleb honestly didn't play, phenomenally today. He had a couple of big-time misses that if he would have just hit some of the throws that he missed in this game, Bears probably score over 40 points in this game. So, just a disappointing effort from the defense that has looked so good over the last 3 weeks. Just got out-schemed, out-coached in this one, and that's just the reality of the situation. Ben Johnson, one of the better coaches in the league, but that's just the unfortunate reality as we stand here today. But I thought the defense did stand up there at the end of the game. They gave this offense multiple opportunities to go and get a victory in this ball game. They gave them opportunities just down 3 to either tie or take the lead twice at the end, not able to execute on either one of them. Obviously they did get a couple turnovers today. That awesome TJ Watt strip sack fumble, and then Nick Herbig gets on top of it for a touchdown was a great play. And those 7 points, in the end kept the Steelers in this ball game. But Just wasn't enough at the end of the day, obviously, and just got to do a better job getting those stops when they get into the red zone. But really, that dropped interception from Kyle Duggar at the end of the first half, it ended up being the difference in the game. And I said it at the time. I was like, man, that's going to give them 3 points. And if we lose this game by 3 or less points, you're going to be looking back on that play because it literally goes right in the chest of Kyle Duggar, who dropped an interception last week against the Bengals. Now he drops another interception this week, and drop interceptions have been a big theme for the Pittsburgh Steelers. James Pierre dropped an interception today as well. It's just this Steelers defense does such a good job at creating turnover opportunities, and even though they still have a lot of turnovers on the season, they got 2 more today, there's still more meat left on the bone. And if you just get one of those interceptions, feels like this might have been a completely different ball game. But now shifting over to the offensive side of the ball, where it felt like the offense got really stale in the second half. And, I thought Arthur Smith came out with an awesome game plan. He had some really nice screen looks early in the game. But then in the second half, they called a lot of the same plays, and it got really vanilla. And, Arthur Smith, I think, needs to do a better job play calling after he gets away from his script. He needs to have these, the plays that they like to go to regularly need to be better. They're just so vanilla and so boring, and, teams know what the Steelers like to do, and they can just take it away very easily. So Arthur Smith, I thought, was up and down today for sure, and he needs to do a better job when he's off the script to be able and get this offense in positions to succeed, because I didn't think he did that specifically in the second half today. And it certainly didn't help anybody out there when it came to the Steelers offense. So great today's performance from the Steelers. Those are my first half of the takeaways. I got my second half of the takeaways coming up here in just a second. But give me a grade, A, B, C, D, or F. I thought the Steelers actually played, decent, given that Aaron Rodgers wasn't playing today, but it's a loss, so I'm just going to give it a C. There's certain elements that are positive to take away from this game, but certainly a lot of negatives as well. But before we get into the rest of today's show, go check or go answer our pinned question down there in the pinned comment section. But I don't have to tell you guys that maneuvering the men's razor space these days is an absolute nightmare. That's where our friends at Harry's come in. The quality products are always super expensive. On the open market nowadays, and refills are always ridiculously expensive as well. Then when you try and save a little bit of money, you get stuck with dull razors that irritate your skin and even cut your skin at times. And you can really only use those cheap products and those cheap razor heads like once before you have to throw them out and replace them. That's exactly why I switched to Harry's Plus, and I haven't looked back since. Harry's Plus has an advanced pivoting system to reach every corner of your face, refined blade tech for a closer, smoother shave, and a weighted metal handle, which is Harry's heaviest handle ever for added control and comfort. But I think the best part about Harry's Plus is how affordable it is. Harry's owns their own world-class blade factory in Germany, which means no outsourcing, no middlemen, and because they control the entire process from steel to shelf, they keep costs low and pass the savings on to you. And if you don't love your shave, Harry's will make it right, no questions asked. Their risk-free trial means there's zero downside to giving them a shot. For a limited time only, our listeners can get the Harry's Plus trial set for only $10 at harrys.com/chat. This set includes the all-new Harry's Plus razor, one refined 5-blade cartridge, and a 2-ounce foaming shave gel, and a travel cover to protect your blades on the go. Just head on over to harrys.com/chat to claim this offer. And after your purchase, they'll ask where you heard about them. Please support our show and tell them that we sent you. Big thank you to Harry's for sponsoring today's edition of Steelers Talk. All right, guys, there's a lot of talk about Mason this week and, him playing. And I did advocate for him to start this week over Rodgers, and I still stand by that decision. If Rodgers isn't good to go, I think we've seen from Rodgers over the last month that he just wasn't right after he jammed that finger pregame versus the Colts. And, this was a game where, if Mason, made a couple of more throws, they would have won this game. And it just felt to me that if you had better quarterback play, you probably win this game, plain and simply. And, Mason, I thought, did a decent job being the general conductor of the offense. He threw the ball accurately underneath. He wasn't, missing badly on throws that he had to have. But his pocket presence is abysmal, guys, and he can't move. Aaron Rodgers is infinitely better in the pocket, even at 41, almost 42 years old now, than Rudolph is in the pocket. And we saw that today with some of the really bad moments in pocket management from Rudolph. Missed a couple downfield throws. He had Roman Wilson wide open for maybe a touchdown if he hits him in stride. in the second to last drive of the game. And then you get to the final drive, and he's throwing 2-yard slant routes when the team has 1:30 to get in the field goal range, and they have no timeouts. And then, you have that 4th down and 6, and he stares down Metcalf. And then even if the pass doesn't get deflected, it probably gets intercepted for a pick 6 by Nashawn Wright. So it just wasn't a good performance from Mason Rudolph today. Obviously, he had the interception down the field. There was another one that was nearly intercepted. He had the crucial fumble when the Steelers were in Bears territory early in the second half, and then you give the ball back to Chicago. They drive right down the field. They go up 2 scores. It's just tough, man. This defense stepped up at the end, and they gave Mason Rudolph in this offense multiple chances to go win it, and Mason couldn't do it. All right, so I think if Aaron Rodgers is good to go, and the reports indicate that he should be good to go next week versus the Bills, I think you got to go back to number 8. But then also, I think Calvin Austin III probably needs to go back to playing wide receiver too. He was your leading receiver today. Now, he only had 36 catches on 4 catches on 36 yards, my mistake, but he ran some really good routes today. He showed off his wheels a little bit in yak. He runs really good routes, man. He really does. And, I think that this offense needs to continue to try and, use his skill set as a route runner. Now, that doesn't mean necessarily that Roman Wilson can't play or anything like that. I think Roman, honestly, had some opportunities today that, Mason did not throw the ball to him. So, you're still trying to figure this out, but Calvin, has been a pretty consistent presence. He had a really bad game against the Chargers, but, he's still a pretty darn decent receiver, and especially if DK is going to miss any time. I don't think he will, but Calvin is one of those players where you got to get the ball to him in space. He was the only guy to win on a go route today. Everybody else lost on their go route today. Calvin actually won his and drew a big defensive pass interference penalty. So I like Calvin. I think that he should be getting more playing time than he is currently, and maybe more of a split between him and Roman moving forward. But then also, I thought they needed to get the ball to Darnell Washington more today. I mean, he is an absolute X factor for you. He only had 2 catches, and he had 22 yards on those 2 catches on those 2 targets. All right, he averaged a first down per catch, and instead we're putting Jonnu Smith out there again, and we're getting him a bunch of targets. We're giving him 3 targets today. Like, what are we doing? We're getting him jet sweeps. Like, no. Like, get Jonnu Smith off the field. Get him out of the offensive game plan. I've been preaching this for weeks. Pat Freiermuth catches the touchdown today. Darnell Washington averages over a first down per catch. Play those 2 guys more, man. Like, what are we doing? The fact that Jonnu Smith was out there during the 2-minute drill, it boggles my mind. I mean, what does he provide in a 2-minute drill that you are going to think that is valuable? I just don't get it at all at this point. That's just poor coaching from Arthur Smith and the Steelers offensive coaching staff at this point to keep banging their head against the Jonnu Smith wall at this point. Now, my final takeaway, guys, is that in terms of the general team here, inconsistency on, frankly, both sides of the football is a major vice of this football team this year. The best teams in the league and the teams that are capable of winning Super Bowls are the ones that can put together consistent football week in and week out. And the Steelers just haven't been able to do that. Or the offense over the last month, the defense, a little bit today, but also, in certain bunches this season as well. You just got to find some semblance of consistency, man. If you can't do that, even if you make the playoffs, you're not going to have really any chance to put together multiple weeks of good football and giving yourself a chance to hoist a Lombardi trophy. So if those hopes are going to return for this year's Pittsburgh Steelers team, and you want to have some legitimate hope that this team can go on a run and not just maybe win one playoff game, they're going to have to find some consistency down the stretch where they've got 4 playoff caliber teams left over the last 6 games of the season. So point the finger for me down there in the comment section. Who's the most to blame for today's loss? Is it Mason Rudolph? Is it Terrell Austin? Is it Mike Tomlin? Is it somebody else? Let me know what you guys think down there in the comment section. Now some final thoughts before I say goodbye. Still a lot of season left to go, guys. You still got 6 weeks to go. The Ravens did win today, though, so now you're tied with the Ravens officially at the top of the AFC North division, which is very disappointing after the Ravens started 1-4, Steelers started 4-1. And now that you're tied with 6 games left to go is an embarrassment for this Pittsburgh Steelers team, plain and simply. And right now, with 6 games left to go, to get to 10 wins and to really put yourself in good position to make the playoffs, you got to win 4 of your final 2. I think you got to for sure take advantage against Miami and Cleveland, the 2 games that you definitely should win, and then you got to find a way to win 2 games against Buffalo, Detroit, and then both Baltimore games. If you sweep Baltimore, I think you win the division. And if you win 2 of those 4 games, you get to 10 wins, you'd certainly put yourself in position to win the division. So the Steelers still have everything left in front of them. They've got some real tests coming up, and if they can win against Buffalo next week, which I think they have a better chance than people are going to give them credit for, if they can beat Baltimore, they have certainly been playing down to their opponents the last 2 weeks, even though they've escaped with wins. I don't think that they're, unbeatable by any stretch of the imagination. Even Detroit, they lost to J.J. McCarthy at home a couple weeks ago. There's still a lot of great opportunities in front of this Steelers team, but plain simply, today's game came down to 3 things for me. Number 1, it felt like better quarterback play would have led to a victory. Number 2, your defense couldn't get stops in the red zone. Number 3, your defense left some turnovers on the field and left points on the field because of it. So I think, you just once again have to look yourself in the mirror, get better. Hopefully A-Rod can get back on the field next week. Hopefully that's enough to get the Steelers back in the win column in a big-time victory versus the Bills next week. All right, guys, that's going to be it for me today. Really do appreciate all of your guys' support. We're going to have a second post-game show coming out later with some injury updates from Mike Tomlin. Any other news that comes out throughout the day here heading into Sunday Night Football, we'll get you guys some more coverage later this evening. So make sure you guys click that subscribe button if you haven't already. Until next time, guys, here we go, Steelers.